Okay, I assume we're live. I can't tell, but hi everyone.
Hey, PIEGUYRULZ here.
And it's
Welcome,
also
welcome.
Shadow Streak, and Shadow Streak cannot see the chat or anything for that matter, because the YouTube control room for the stream won't load for him. So I don't know what anyone's saying. I need to get my
You could just
phone.
you could just go to my regular YouTube page.
I could do that.
Hello, hello. How is everyone doing on this glorious of Tuesdays? I had a bit of a power outage earlier. Fortunately, they don't last long where I live, so everything came back on. But there was a part of me that was like, "Oh no, I might have to do this week like just on my phone or something." I was not going to postpone this one. This is a big, interesting week.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's for sure.
I'd say most of the things we have to talk about today fall in the either really dang good or really dang bad category. There's
Yeah.
only maybe like one thing that kind of falls somewhere in the middle. We'll see. Um, but yeah,
Yes.
how is everyone else?
Hopefully doing well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna grab my phone so I can read. Well, yeah. Let me see. If it's not lagging too bad, I'll have the video.
Okay. You're at
Yeah.
Disneyland? Nice. Unless you're quoting something.
I'm going to Disneyland.
I'm going to Escalator World.
When do we
uh,
get to the ride?
you're on it.
Yeah.
2003, the year you were born. Oh man, you don't have to make us feel old like that.
Oh.
uh, all right. Yes, yes. Oh, you're quoting part from this week's episode. Right, right, right. Yeah. So, just as a heads up, because there was only one thing nominated in 2003 for the hour or more category, we are going to be talking about that Walking with Dinosaurs special in this stream right here. We're gonna do that first, get it out of the way. So this might be a little bit of a longer stream. So
Yeah.
get ready for that. All right, you guys want to know what 2003 was like in the world of movies?
Oh, please, please inform us.
All right, here we go. The highest grossing films of 2003. You got any guesses, Shadow? You know all of these movies. Well, the first five
2003.
anyway. Yeah.
Uh, Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo is number 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's play Family Feud.
You know what? Let's do that. Okay. All right. So I've got 1 out of 5.
Yes.
Geez, what was big? Was there a Harry Potter movie?
No.
Okay. Well, good.
Come
2003.
on, man. You got this.
Hmm.
2003 was when the Bad Pajama Sam game came out.
It was. That was an agonizing time.
Someone in the comments said Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
Show me pirates. Ding! Number 4. Curse of the Black
Wow,
Pearl.
there we go. I'm trying not to look at chat because I don't.
All right.
Because I feel like.
Well,
they're gonna
chat's
say,
playing too. You got to race
Okay.
chat.
What else was big? Star Wars was 2002.
Ooh. Chat said number 1. Chat said number 1. Shadow, I'm gonna give you a second here, and then no. All right. Khalid Larkin says Lord of the Rings.
Oh, duh! Return of the King, of course.
With a worldwide gross of 1,140,682,011
Oh.
It's Lord of the Rings:
Yeah,
Return of the King
of course.
at number 1. So number 1's Lord of the Rings. Number 2, Finding Nemo. Number 3 was The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh. Okay, yeah, Matrix movie. No one really
Number
likes.
4, yeah, number 4 was Pirates of the Caribbean. Number 5, okay, it's a comedy movie starring Dr. Eggman himself. Can you give it? It was one of his later ones, I guess. Very popular movie. Involved a monkey coming from a part of the body. Very classic role for Morgan Freeman.
I'm lost here. What are you describing?
Chat says The Room. No, not The Room, but very good guess. No, the movie is Bruce Almighty. You've never heard of Bruce Almighty?
No, I have. That description was like, you're right. Your description.
You don't
was
remember
complete-
the famous scene where a monkey crawls out of
No, I
a
don't.
part of the human
Listen,
body?
the only thing I remember from Bruce and
How about Morgan Freeman as God?
That's the thing. The only thing I
Okay.
remember from either of those movies is Act of Random Kindness, arc. That's all I remember. So, but yeah, your description of the film is absolutely right, but I did not think of that.
Some people in the chat did get it. Thank you, Redway 2, for reminding us all that it was the year of Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat and Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion.
Oh god, the Cat in the Hat. That's right. Oh dear.
All right, let's not waste any more time. Shadow, what was the nominee for the 2003 Hour or More category?
Oh boy, the hour or more category. I actually got to load that screenshot in really quick. So stall for like 10 more seconds.
And that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
It's a line from that film.
All right. So the hour or more category from 2003 had a whopping 1 nominations. That was the Walking with Dinosaurs special, Chased by Dinosaurs. Featuring this guy as the main character that I don't remember the name of.
Nigel Thornberry.
Yes, of course. Smashing.
Rawr, rawr. I'm here with dinosaurs.
Yes,
that was terrible. I'm so sorry. All right, so we're gonna talk about this first, and then I think we'll tell you the nominees or do you want to do the other nominees now?
No, we'll talk about this first, and then we'll get to it.
All right, we won't take too horribly long. So like, are we 100% sure this was what was nominated? Even?
Yes.
Okay.
It's got the Walking with Dinosaurs name in it, so.
What doesn't these days? Anyway, there was
more like those days, but.
So this was like 2 half-hour specials. I don't even understand how it was nominated for hour or what the deal was, but what we watched was 2 specials, and it's a guy who is back in the dinosaur land. It's a documentary where he's with dinosaurs, and he follows them around, and he tries to, like, I don't know, hang out with them and catch them. It's not a story. There's loose framing devices. Like he's got like this claw, and he's like, I gotta see what has the claw. Well, that's more Steve Irwin, but you know, he has an accent. It's more British accent, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we got the claw here, and we got to find out what dino belonged to this claw.
Yeah, I don't know. It was lost.
Anyway, there's not like a narrative, but there are like some narrative threads of him like trying to find dinosaurs and stuff like that. It's not fiction. I mean, it's fiction in the sense that he's not really there with dinosaurs, but it's really more just like, here's a more engaging way of doing a dinosaur documentary than just people being interviewed and CGI footage. The weird thing about this is the tone, which it sounds like he is talking to maybe children or teenagers or like, you know, not necessarily adults. But then at the same time, this special has dinosaurs getting like killed on screen by other dinosaurs and like ripped apart and eaten. There's blood. It's not like super gory, but it's more than you would expect from something made for kids. So I don't really know whether this was made for kids or not. It's a little too goofy to be taken seriously by like people our age.
Or
It's
even
not
teenagers.
It doesn't try to it's not trying to fool you or like, you know, do anything like the stupid dragon one. It's not like, I don't know. It feels like basically this guy makes nature documentaries with regular animals. So this time he decided to do one, what if this guy could interact with dinosaurs? I have to say that it was more engaging to me than the other ones we watched, because there was a guy there talking to us, you know, and kind of like pointing at the dinosaurs and stuff. I didn't think it worked 100%, but my attention was captured more so than a lot of the other stuff we watched. I wouldn't say it's entertaining or interesting, personally. Not something I would watch. But since we had to watch it, I thought this was better. And at least there was kind of some stuff to make fun of and laugh at. because the guy is kind of goofy. There's some really weird choices, like the fact that sometimes he has a crew, and this crew also gets attacked. Like the boom mic guy has to fight off a dinosaur with the boom mic, but then other times there's just these shots that there's no way that it's like a human crew that's with him. They don't do any explanation as to like there's no pretense of like I've traveled back in time. It's really just like, hey, I'm here with dinosaurs. Very weird. What do you think, Shadow?
I asked this question while we were watching it. Who was this made for? It's like you said, it doesn't really feel like it has an aimed audience. Like, I don't know who they were, or maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say maybe it's a British thing, but like, who actually would sit down and want to watch this? Like, it's charming, it's novel in the sense that like it's this guy goofing around with CG dinosaurs, and on paper it's fun. You know, it's charming. Is this well made? No.
Well, no, I do want to say, as much as I want to dunk on this guy for being kind of goofy, I think that he plays his role pretty well. I think he gets good intentions. I don't know anything about this gentleman. Hopefully no one's about to post like a news article about him doing something horrible.
Yeah, right? Well, I'm not gonna lie. About halfway through this film, I was genuinely convinced that dinosaurs were real. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no. Anyway, I just want to say that as much as I kind of goof on this guy, I think he did a good job, and I don't have any ill will towards him.
Oh yeah, I don't have any will towards the guy. It's more the character of just like who's connecting with him, like the character. Also, the thing is amusing to me because it's like the opening of the specials, like I went back in time to see the dinosaurs, and there's no explanation for it, which is like, yeah.
Does
like,
he even say he went back in time, or does he just say I'm here?
No, he said in his opening monologue, he goes, I want to go back in time to see the dinosaurs. And there's that transition of him like looking into the sky as the sky behind him moves very rapidly. It's like I guess their transition of him going back in time. But like, it's funny because it's like he goes back in time, but he still somehow just has a jet and like a Jeep at his disposal when he needs them.
I don't know. It's clearly not meant to be taken as a narrative,
it's not,
though.
But
it's just an excuse.
Just funny. It's just funny. Yeah. That's the thing. In terms of like the actual production, though, I mean, I don't know. The dinosaurs didn't look good when we could see them.
Well, let's talk about it. The dinosaurs are CG. Just to make it clear, everything else in this is live action, but the dinosaurs themselves are CG. And they have cloaca.
Yeah, that was necessary. For the ending.
It was the ending, the very ending. We get to see some gooey eggs drop out. Yeah, it was real important that we saw that.
No, honestly, I mean, it's fine CG, especially for the time, but like it is very, very easy to see how badly it sticks out when it's not like obscured by the lighting being dark or being blurred in the distance or things like that. Like it mostly works when it's not in focus. And the other thing is, yes, this is technically more of an animated production than like Alien Earths, but it's still one of those. It's just another one of these documentaries where it's like live action footage and setting with CG creatures, and it's Well, it's just, we've seen so many of these by this point that it's like the wow factor is completely gone.
Yeah, Nathan G mentions, I remember Saber Spark saying he liked the Walking with Dinosaur specials. I think it's important that we bring this up. Walking with Dinosaurs is like a brand that they tacked on to a lot of things because the first Walking with Dinosaurs was really successful. Yeah. So if someone says they liked Walking with Dinosaurs, it doesn't necessarily mean they I'm not trying to put words in Saber Spark's mouth. I genuinely don't know. But I'm just saying this may or may not be what he was talking about. It's very confusing and annoying that they did it this way.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, though, like, other than the things that kind of make it different, I feel like everything else I'd say I've already said about the previous documentaries we talked about. We've seen so many of these at this point that it's like, I feel like it's redundant.
Well, but do you think that there was a big evolution between this and I don't even remember the other names. The other ones we saw. Do you think that the animation is pretty standard for like the 4 or 5 years
Yes.
in a row that we've seen? Okay, I kind of agree. Well, I think that the models, the designs, I think they all look pretty serviceable, and all pretty similar across the years. I think the thing that always kind of gets it is the animations themselves, because this one has repeated animations. Like I joke with Shadow that it's kind of like you're playing like Pokemon Snap or something, where like they have only a set amount of things they can do, and they try to kind of like disguise the fact that like, oh wow, that thing bit 3 times in a row in the air, like 3 times in the document, like as if that's just a thing that they would do in the exact same way every time. Like it's not. It's just reused animation. I think it works well enough to fool the eye, but you're absolutely right that after we've seen so many of these, I can't tell you what the context of 2002 or 2003 person would think of this, how wowed they would be. But after we've seen so many of these, it really is just, like, I didn't notice the looping animations or the reused animations were the things that got me the most. The other thing, and I mean, maybe this is just because I watch a lot of media, majored in film, etc., etc. You could tell when they were they kind of made up excuses for why he was not directly interacting with the dinosaurs, because to have CG animals in like a live action background as a photo or even a video of live action, it's really not that hard. You got to match the lighting, but that's about it. Yep. However, if you want these dinosaurs to be able to realistically interact with a human, like a human pet them or something, it's really hard to do, right? Because without the hand clipping or the the way you do the cropping, like the keying out of the background, like you got to be very careful. So there's a lot of times where there'll be chase sequences, but like he's not interacting with the dinosaurs. I will say, to this film's credit, to this special's credit, there are practical dinosaurs. There's a point where he grabs one, and you see a close up of the body, and he's like stroking it, and it has feathers, which props on them for being realistic too. So like, yeah, it's cool that they use practical effects. However, it makes it less worthy of being nominated for an animated category. How was nothing else nominated? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if you did, Shadow. I didn't find one this year. I didn't look for this for an hour long.
I have I didn't think about it that I would have liked to be nominated, but technically it wouldn't qualify.
Oh.
Do you want me to say it now, or are we talking?
Just say it now. We're not gonna do like all the rest. I mean, hey guys, this won. This won. Wow!
Yeah,
it won. It was
guys.
The only one nominated. It won.
Yeah. It doesn't qualify because it was released in theaters, but the Powerpuff Girls movie would have been great.
No, get out of here. That's
what?
Not
an animated movie. Wow, something that's actually animated. It's incredible. Okay. No, I said it doesn't qualify, but that's what I'd love to think.
Oh, Clee mentions The Journal from Hey Arnold. Yeah, if that one fits in the time period, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Overall, comparing it to the other things we've talked about, the other documentaries we've talked about, I honestly think this is one of the better ones, just because, again, with a human there that's not just a narration, there is something charming about this, like, Nigel Thornberry-esque guy named Nigel. There is something charming about it. I like, not enough that I'm like, yeah, I want to watch more of this, but just enough that I'm like, I wasn't as bored as some of the other ones, but it was still relatively boring. He almost gets eaten by, like, a crocodile dinosaur, which is cool, but almost being the operative word there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't, I don't know. There really isn't much else to say that we haven't already said.
Yeah, I'm good to move on if you are.
Yeah, I am absolutely as well. So that was the hour or more category. Guys, we're almost done with the hour or more category, thankfully. We picked this category. We wanted to talk about it because, as you guys know, there's a lot of really interesting things. When they do actually pick something that is not a documentary, they've been some really interesting things to talk about, like the Clone Wars series and the Powerpuff Girls special and the Teenage Robot special and all that stuff. but we've committed to doing this for some reason. We could have probably should have just disqualified all of these, but whatever. Yeah, no, I don't think it deserves it, especially because so much of it is live action. It's literally just the dinosaurs themselves. It's not even the environment. It's just the dinosaurs. And there's a lot of shots of just this guy talking where there's no animation whatsoever. I think that the stupid dragon one justifies being in the animated category more than this does.
I would agree completely.
And that barely justifies it as well. All right, so Mr. Streak.
Okay, so we have 5 nominees for 2003 half-hour category. Jinx. Yeah, so first up, we have As Told by Ginger with the episode And She Was Gone. Kim Possible with Crush. Futurama, Jurassic Bark. The Simpsons, 3 Gays of the Condo. And SpongeBob SquarePants with New Student Starfish and Clams, which is actually going to be the first nominee that we're talking about tonight. Switching things up on you guys.
All right, let's get it over with.
Okay.
SpongeBob. What can you say about
it's SpongeBob?
SpongeBob. So I do need to point out that when Shadow and I watch these episodes, we look at the backgrounds, the random background fish, all of like the weird background stuff, like the fact that when Patrick moves his chair, it's like a lighter color because it's animated as opposed to SpongeBob's chair, and then his desk goes right back to looking like SpongeBob's chair. I don't know. We notice all the stupid details because we've seen this a million times. What is SpongeBob about? Gosh darn you. So yeah, this New Student Starfish is an episode about Patrick coming to school with SpongeBob, but it turns out that Patrick is a troublemaker, and SpongeBob is a good student apparently, and yeah, the conflict is born out of that.
It's got funny jokes.
This is my first time talking about SpongeBob. You'd be interested in hearing my thoughts about this underground series. Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's a good setup for an episode. It's a little weird that, like, SpongeBob is like a star pupil when consistently he's been disruptive and an annoyance. Like, for this episode to work as a conceit, you have to imagine that SpongeBob is like the perfect student in Mrs. Puff's class, which is not true at all. Like, you know, even in episodes where he's not being like active, like he's not trying to do anything, like in Hall Monitor, he ends up just like wasting the class's entire time with his speech. You know what I mean? Like that's consistently how he's been portrayed in other episodes, but now he's a perfect good noodle who is like the top of the class. Like I don't know. Since we're here, since we got to talk about this, since I'm gonna go ahead and nitpick it. Why not, right? Of course, SpongeBob has always been better about like the theory of boating school, and of course SpongeBob would want to be a teacher's pet, of course, but like consistently he's shown to not be able to not be annoying.
What I learned in boating school is
Rowan ever says he only has so many good noodle stars because he's been there more than anyone else. That's a good point. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Maybe he's good in everything except driving. Yeah, but he's annoying. He is the good noodle system isn't even based on merits in terms of like how good you are at grades. It's not a grade. It's how well behaved you are.
Mrs.
And
Puff
SpongeBob
even says that she expects him to behave better than this. It's a normal thing. Even though like most other episodes, Mrs. Puff cannot stand him.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So I'm not saying that as in it ruins the episode in any way. I'm just saying that I think that's a I don't know, it's a weird inconsistency that you kind of have to just accept, and you do. I think the premise of the episode works well enough, and I think I don't know, it kind of goes with that old thing that Steven Hillenburg always said, that like SpongeBob is more of an idiot when Patrick is around. Like Patrick is kind of like that influence on him. But yeah, no, it kind of works out, and yeah, ultimately a lot of good jokes. Jokes about the stairs of learning. A big fat meanie. I do not look like this. Or that's not the line. What is it? Is you think I really look like this?
Yeah.
Something like that. I never noticed the poo was actually on the floor when she turns into that. I'd never noticed that little detail, but it's there.
Hey, Pie.
Pie. Yeah.
Pie. Pie.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi.
24. Which is a joke that Shadow likes a lot.
Light bulb. But why does it have to be so far away?
Yep.
Yeah.
The light bulb. Without it,
Roger,
the egg will
die.
Roger, without it,
the light bulb will have nothing to warm.
Oh man.
I hate you even if I didn't hate you.
Look at all the nerds in the chat correcting me.
That made sense.
Look at all the nerds.
That's how much I hate you.
You
I mean, really, that's all it comes down to. Is like it's a funny episode. It's got good jokes.
No, you can't say that, Shadow. I watch SpongeBob for the lore. You can't say it's good just because it's funny. What about the
deep SpongeBob lore? Oh yes, like how they're living near a radioactive plant or whatever that garbage is.
Okay, but all right, fine. So on the story front, I think that the payoff to all of it, SpongeBob and Patrick having to learn to work together as a team, like I think that's good. As far as like SpongeBob story turns go, I think that's a pretty good one. I think that like they had a good way of I don't know, making the climax interesting.
Yeah.
So
I thought the conflict was justified. I mean, Patrick was being obnoxious. SpongeBob had every right to get upset, but it wasn't like Patrick was being overbearing. It wasn't like it's not like you were annoyed by the way Patrick was acting. Like, it was it was innocent, really, and not in like a stupid way, but like, Patrick being well written. So, yeah.
Really, it's also, I guess the interesting thing is, like, would you have picked this episode to nominate? Like, ignoring the other half and ignoring anything else, like, I don't know exactly all the episodes, but, I mean, we're in season 3, so there's obviously some really good picks.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just based on comedy, I'd say it's a fine nominee. But
yeah,
the vagueness of this category makes it a little more difficult. I mean, I'd have to look at all the other contenders to see if there is a better, like, pairing,
Well, you could just pair whatever you want, apparently.
Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely true.
These two episodes are actually paired together, but, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Late 2002, or second half of 2002. Well, Christmas Who premiered in Russia on July 14th. I can tell you that much. Why does the SpongeBob Wiki tell me all these things that premiered in Norway, Russia? Like, I mean, I'm sure some people from those countries care, I'm sure, but this calendar is ridiculous because it has episodes premiering in like 8 different regions. Very strange. Yeah, never mind. Thanks, SpongeBob Wiki. You failed me again. I don't know. Point being, although I think this is a fine enough pick, I feel like there are better. Let's see.
I feel like the SpongeBob Wiki struck a nerve with you there.
July 2002 to June 2002. July 2002 to June 2003.
No, June to May. June to May.
June to May. Oh, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was... Could have picked The Sponge Who Could Fly. I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of cheap walk cycles. Could you imagine if that won an Emmy?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's certainly something.
It'd be a statement.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess not a lot of things really did premiere in this time period. The Krusty Krab training video was May 10th, 2002. So
just misses.
Yeah. Huh. Thankfully, the Great Snail Race and Midlife Crustacean weren't nominated.
Yeah.
Could have been. Yeah. I don't know. All right, fine. You know what? I'll say it. Within this time period, I think this was a fine choice. Fine enough.
The real Emmy here is the friends we made along the way.
Chocolate with Nuts and Merryman and Barnacle Boy was June 1st, 2002.
That barely qualifies.
Like, so obviously, okay. I mean, I've said it, I think, before that, like, oh, sorry, Redway 2. I forgot you're from Russia. I did not mean any insult to Russia. I just feel like the SpongeBob Wiki could organize the pages by country instead, because if you're from that country and you want to know, surely you don't also want to know when it aired in Norway. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, who am I to criticize?
What if we have a
SpongeBob?
Norwegian viewer who wants to know?
Well, but again, separated out by pages. Why would you want a calendar that? Okay, anyway.
Wow, I think Pi really has it out for this wiki.
I used to use Encyclopedia SpongeBobia, but I mean, it's kind of a joke. Anyway, yes, if Chocolate with Nuts, Merryman, and Barnacle Boy 5 is on the table, sure, but the fact that it is literally the first day that it's eligible, like, I don't know, that's weird. Like, I don't know if there's some weird cutoff thing. Primetime Emmy, because Chocolate with Nuts aired at 9 a.m. I don't know that even... whatever. I'll, fine. This is fine.
Pi just hates everything.
I'm talking positively about the episode. What do you all want?
Okay, well, we can talk about the other half now.
Fine, get on with it.
Yes, get on with it. Okay. Yeah, so the other episode is a Jaws / Moby Dick parody at the same time. Clams. Yeah.
So, I mean, I will say Shadow and I laughed more for this episode. This 11. I mean, compared to the first SpongeBob one, I was paying attention. I was listening to you, Shadow. I think we laughed more for this one. I think the thing is that honestly, New Student Starfish might even have more jokes that I enjoy, but I think Clams has the jokes that it has are just so, they push them so far. Just like Mr. Krabs rubbing $1 on his crotch. that is it's such like an iconic
and
thing
that it's like it's repeated, like
and
it's
the squeaking sound effect.
Yes,
the squeaking,
and
like,
it's different when it's the other dollar too. Like
yes.
Yeah.
There's would I win? Nothing.
No, get out! All of you, get out! You're ruining my moment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's great. I love the way they incorporate the live action orchestra. That's obviously amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, it's an episode where Mr. Krabs is like, he goes insane, but like you love it. You're not annoyed by it. You don't think it's unjustified. Like I
think it's unjustified, but I mean, I don't know. He's not painted in the same way as he is in like Jellyfish Hunter, where he's like a out and out evil villain. Mm-hmm. In this one, he's just got ocean madness.
Yeah, like he's just going crazy because he's like, he lost the thing he cherished most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Coral blue lipstick.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's a fun episode.
I guess, yeah, and that is really it. It's that like it doesn't. I think from a narrative perspective, New Student Starfish is better, but I think I don't know. I don't know how they came up with this episode. I mean, it really must have just been that they were thinking of like Moby Dick and Jaws, and they already did like a Moby Dick parody with Mr. Krabs in Sleepy Time. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't know. It's just so good, and much like in the first one, the climax of this is really, really like built up. Like the hype of SpongeBob and Squidward being used as bait, and the music builds to a crescendo, and the clam jumps up, and then Mr. Krabs just jumps in its mouth.
Yeah, and he shuts the doors, and it just freezes. Yeah, and then he's in there, and then the doors just open on their own, and it's great. It's got great timing. It's very well done. Absolutely. I agree. Definitely my favorite of the two parts.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. There's really like nothing else to say about it other than it's funny. Like I don't know, which of these two episodes do you prefer?
I prefer the second one. I mean, I probably quote the first one more, just in terms of the jokes being way more recognizable. But in terms of overall entertainment value, I got more entertainment out of the second one. Clams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I don't yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I don't know. Someone wanted us to explain the 24 joke. I don't think there is an explanation. I mean, right? Unless I'm missing something, he didn't know his name. Yeah, he was stressed out, so he said 24, and then the joke is just that 25 is a higher number, therefore it must be funnier. It's
also like, that's also not entirely a joke directed at the audience, but more of a joke between SpongeBob and Patrick as characters, because they're obviously laughing.
It's a joke to the audience. We find it funny and reference it to this day. I think like, I think it pretty well exemplifies like you and your friend laughing over something like
exactly
just random, like and I think also, ironically enough, I think that it kind of encapsulates Gen Z humor, like like pretty well, like just the absurdity of just saying 24 and laughing at it. Like I think I could see that as like a TikTok. Wow, I sounded really old saying that. I apologize. I am so sorry. I am.
Oh man. Oh gosh.
All right. Excuse me. Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I had to say. All right. Next up, we've got Kim Possible with the episode Crush.
All right. Call her, beeper if you want to reach her. If you want to page her, too bad, because pagers don't exist anymore. Actually, I think doctors still use them. At any rate, so this is... If I say this sentence, people might get angry. This is the first episode of Kim Possible.
Batten down the hatches, everyone. Duck and cover.
This is the first episode of Kim Possible. I do not care what the production numbers say. I do not care. This was intended as an introduction. If you don't believe me, they introduced the concept of a naked mole rat in this episode. Maybe they made it last because they wanted to make the first episode, like, you know, after they had some experience working on the series.
Yeah.
I don't know, people get mad. People are like, listen, this is not the first episode, all right? And Faith, I am not 2 years off from becoming a Zoomer. I'm 28, man. I'm gonna be... No, wait, how old am I? Hang on. Am I 27? I don't know. My birthday's next week. I'm either 27 or 28. No one could possibly know. It's fine.
He's not a Zoomer if he doesn't know how old he is.
Unless this is just my absurd Zoomer humor. Maybe Zoomer humor makes a lot of sense and I'm just old. That's
the
possible.
Other problem is that there's so much inconsistency on what the cutoff year is for Zoomer versus Millennial. Because the year that I was born in, I see as like the year that crosses over both. So, I mean, I would say you're definitely Millennial. I am. I am literally hybrid. I am both at the same time.
You know how I feel about that word, Shadow.
Oh, well, little did you realize I've been both all my life. I'm your worst nightmare.
If I was born 2 years later, I'd be a Zoomer. I don't think so. I'm not that close to being a like. I don't think. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's really meaningless. I mean, some sources say 1996. Some sources say 1998. It's like there's no consistent number one answer as to what the year is that determines which.
Listen, Kim Possible is a millennial show. Yeah. All right.
Zoomers were too young to really like. You know.
Zoomers don't at me. I'm not even against Zoomers. Zoomers are great. Everyone has their own generation, and I'm sure I'm gonna be called a Zoomer at some point by some old person. I don't know. At any rate, listen. All right, this is the first episode of Kim Possible, and I don't care what was produced first. This episode is an introduction of the series. It's also bad.
Yeah,
I said it. I said it.
If we can throw out the number one point that backs up our argument, because I completely agree with Pi on this. Rufus is introduced in this episode. He is not introduced in Tick, Tick, Tick. He is already assumed to be known by the cast in that episode. He is
this episode also
here.
it also features like most of the recurring characters on the series, including Bonnie, Kim's crush, Kim's little brothers, Draken, the main villain, like Shigo. I don't know. Watch whatever episode you want to watch first, but I mean, this is clearly a very early episode, and I don't think it's good. No, we talked like I feel like we may have talked about this on the show before, but like there's a lot of cartoons out there where the idea is it's 50% like going to school and being an average kid or teenager, 50% action fantasy show. To an extent, Powerpuff Girls is this. To an extent, even like some episodes of Adventure Time are this, like Trouble in Lumpy Space of all things, right? It's a very commonly used thing in children's media because it allows you to tell a story that's relatable to the kid. Like basically, you draw them in with big, flashy action and fun and excitement and wish fulfillment, and then you keep the kids interested by telling stories that are relatable. So basically, my point is not that that's a bad trope. It's just a trope that gets used a lot. So, if I see this trope, I want it to be done like in an interesting way. And in this one, it's not. It's basically she has a crush on a boy, and they talk about it while she's fighting crime. Like that's it. It's there's nothing thematically connected about her personal story and the villain. There's nothing. I don't know. And as far as like high school stories go, she has a crush but is too shy to talk to him, is like about as basic as you can get.
Yeah, I did not find myself really getting any enjoyment out of this episode. I thought that it screams season 1 first off, because I remember loving season 2 and 3 and everything after this way more when I would watch it. It didn't really get me to laugh very much. I thought that Draken's plan was very basic.
And dumb. Basically, his plan is he wanted to make a big robot, and he needed to steal, like, video game AI to do this for some reason.
From Japan.
Because video games and giant robots are the same thing, right? Like,
Konnichiwa.
Yeah, well, so basically they need to hack into Draken's robot, and the password is Konnichiwa, which is what the AI has been saying nonstop, and only saying like it's some sort of Pokemon.
Konnichiwa.
It's dumb. Thank you for the super chat, Matthew. Yes, Chased by Dinosaur was from the creator of Walking with Dinosaurs. Was it from the creators, or was it just slapped on as a title? I don't know. And yeah, Kim is kind of a jerk. The ending of this episode is she locks Ron in a closet, and then Ron is in the closet so long that he misses the school dance.
And then he starves to death and dies.
That's supposed to be a funny ending.
Yeah, it was a twist ending.
Even though the whole episode, Ron is like such a good confidence booster for Kim, just doing nothing but telling her like, listen, you're so great, like you can fight bad guys. Of course you can ask this guy out. Like, here, let me ask out 12 women at once just to prove my point that you could do it too. Like, he's such a helpful friend to Kim, and then Kim's like, yeah, get in the locker. Or get in the closet, you chump.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't invested in this one.
I do not think this is representative of the show as a whole.
No.
I am not in any way dunking on the series as a whole. I haven't seen it in a while. I whatever. But yeah, as this episode, it's pretty bad. It is filled with like NSYNC-esque background music. It's very, very early 2000s, cargo pants and stuff. We were all carrying around naked mole rats at the time. It was the fashion.
Remember the Nako?
It became real. So like anyway, yeah, no, not good. It was like a blast from the past to watch. Like it was interesting for that aspect, but otherwise, I wouldn't say there was anything in here that was particularly good or memorable or worth watching. I would skip this episode entirely. It also isn't canonically like the first time she fights Draken or anything like that. It's not an origin. Like so much of this is unexplained about how she does what she does. There is a line that explains it. I guess thank you, Matthew, for super chat. He says it was by the same producers. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yes, the same
company.
The original creator of the original Walking with Dinosaurs did work on this one. So yes.
Well, that's good. At least that's less tacked on.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, no, I it sucks because this is the first episode, so we certainly won't be talking about Kim Possible again. It doesn't have another chance to be nominated. Mm-hmm. But I think this is a pretty pathetic nomination. I cannot see why this would get nominated for any reason.
Yeah, I can't either.
Voice acting. Voice acting. The voice acting is very good. I found what's his name? Ron's voice actor.
Will Friedle.
Will Friedle. Yes, he is fantastic. Like Ron is very likable in the episode. He has this real confidence to him. Like as far as goofy sidekick characters go, he's written pretty dang well in this episode. And Chrissy Carlson Romano always does great as Kim. Uh-huh. So like I'll give it that. This episode doesn't have Patrick Warburton, I don't think.
No,
as
I don't think so.
Their like substitute teacher or whoever he is.
Nah.
He's later in the show, I think. But yes, he's Batman and Batman Beyond. That's right. Yep. Yeah, so that's all I can say about it. That's good. Otherwise, I mean, it helped start a series that a lot of people like and look back fondly on. But this ain't it, Chief. This was very much lame kids show writing, lame stock music, lame jokes. So many lame jokes.
The villain plot wasn't exciting, and even the fortress infiltration was kind of just. They avoided some lasers, and then they got there, and they fought some goons for 5 seconds.
Yeah. Draken he captures them, and then we cut forward, and they're instead surrounded by goons instead of captured, meaning they were less captured than they were. I don't know. Was this better than the Juniper Lee episode, says Zane? Honestly, it's kind of in the same category. I think the story progression of this follows a little better than the Juniper Lee one does.
Yes.
At least this is about something. At least like it's boring to watch, but at least you kind of know what's happening versus Juniper Lee, which just decided to throw random stupid stuff at you. I also thought the animation on this was better. I don't think it's award-worthy animation, but I think that it is very serviceable.
Yeah, I think it gets the job done, but it wasn't mind-blowing in any particular section.
The worst thing about this is now Disney Plus thinks I want to watch the live-action movie.
Yay!
So thanks, Disney Plus. Hey Peter.
No.
Wrong redhead.
Stop.
No, Lois is in a different episode. Anyway, so yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about it. If you like Kim Possible, I'm not meaning to diss you at all. Like I totally get it, but I don't think this is a strong showing for the show at all. Nothing about this screams anything but unoriginal and bland, personally.
Yeah, it's an early season 1 episode of a cartoon.
Yeah.
So it gets way better later on. I still highly recommend Kim Possible to anyone. It's a great show. I think it holds up. But season 1, not as good as the other seasons. Yeah.
Next up.
Season 3 is probably the best one. But yeah. Anyway, go on. Oh, I guess it's me. Yeah, that's my job. I knew that. As Told by Ginger with And She Was Gone.
So, Shadow had never seen As Told by Ginger.
Never seen any of it.
See, I watched it in passing as a kid. I did not aggressively watch it. I thought it was a girls' show. I know I was stupid back then. I kind of liked Carl and Hoodsey, but I was kind of put off by the teenage girl drama thing as a kid. So I know some of the characters and I'm aware of some of the setups. I was not familiar with this episode, and so going into it, neither of us really knew what to expect. And I mean, I gotta say, this was pretty phenomenal. I
went in expecting not to like it, and I was blown away. I was completely blown away by this episode. I did not expect a story this good from this show.
Since I'm sure other people are maybe in the same boat, the plot of this episode is basically there's like a poetry contest going on, and Ginger wants to enter it. And she writes this poem about a girl who is so lonely and sad that she wanted to be gone, and then she was. I'm not doing the poem justice, obviously, but like that's the gist of it. It doesn't mention anything specifically, just that the girl wants to be gone. And that she goes through with being gone. Now, this is a Nickelodeon show, so of course that is how they are phrasing it. But the subtext of this episode, and I guess I'll give a warning right now, the subtext is basically Ginger's teacher and the school shrink think that Ginger might be depressed or suicidal because the poem kind of reads like a girl who kills herself. And the episode kind of goes through this, and there's like a little bit of questioning if Ginger actually is depressed. All her friends and stuff are like, "Wow, Ginger, you're so depressed," and Ginger's like, "I'm not." Basically, a bunch of people put it on her, like she has this issue when she doesn't feel like she does. And the resolution ends up being that no, the reason she was able to write a poem that was so powerful and strong is just because she's empathetic and understands other people's point of view, even if that's not hers. She made a piece of art that represented maybe some feelings she had, but not like all the feelings she had. And also that she continues to go to group therapy just because she found it helpful in general, even though she was not depressed. I don't think I've ever seen a cartoon episode where a character is like basically kind of pressured into being depressed, or like everyone puts it on her, and then it turns out she's not depressed, but basically just everyone kind of gives her this complex. It's actually ironic because this past week, and I talked about this yesterday with Jim on Twitter, there's a Simpsons episode which is kind of similar where but I guess it's a little different because Lisa actually has the issue. But at any rate, yeah, I thought this episode handled it very tastefully, and I thought that this was kind of relatable. As a kid, sometimes you do or say things just because you're in a bad mood or because you're trying to express yourself, but it doesn't mean that you have an issue or that you're suicidal or whatever. And if a bunch of adults and therapists and teachers and whatever keep telling you that you're depressed, it's going to give you like a major issue. Like it's going to kind of will it into existence. And it's very important to pay close attention to people in your life who may be exhibiting signs of depression. But you also definitely shouldn't be projecting it onto them.
Yeah. And one thing that I like about this is that it discusses a complicated issue, and it does it so well.
Yes.
Because the other aspect of this is Ginger is clearly very talented when it comes to writing, and it kind of speaks to the authenticity of the teacher interpreting it in that way, which is definitely a good thing to be concerned about.
Yes.
But it is completely okay for people to write deep and dark and emotional things without actually feeling that way themselves, because that's just their form of expression. And as Ginger basically comes to realize in the episode, and as Pi mentioned, she's empathetic and aware of these other emotions that exist, even if she doesn't personally feel them.
Yeah.
And I really like how it showcases Ginger as a writer. I think it also goes to show how most of her peers don't even really, basically everyone don't even really pay attention to how well written it is. They're only concerned with, the emotion that they got out of it without really considering this is really well written. This speaks to me. Oh my gosh, Ginger, you're such a good writer. Until her mom reads it.
Yeah.
And then her mom reads the poem, and that whole resolution with her talking to her mom, that conversation was like the most heartwarming thing.
Yes.
Her mom is completely supportive of her in this. She actively encourages her to keep writing. I thought that was definitely a very, very good kind of climactic moment for the character. And
it's always very tricky. You never want to portray therapy as like an awful thing, but you also, therapy is also like therapy and meds and all this stuff is also not universally always a good thing. There are bad therapists out there who will impart you with bad tactics to that actively hurt you.
Yeah.
So there's a subplot in this. We'll talk about the other stuff with this episode, but this was important to get out of the way. And the neat thing about it all is that this episode, they say depressed and they use depression a lot, but they don't say suicide or anything like that, even though that is clearly the underpinning implications of the poem. Not necessarily what Ginger is writing in a literal sense, but just in that is the threat. That is what when the teacher reads it, it's not because like, oh, she wrote about a sad girl. It's because she wrote about someone who is so sad that they disappeared, which as a kid, that would have gone completely over my head.
Yep.
There's nothing inappropriate about that, showing that to kids or whatever, but like as an adult, I think it's pretty clear that that's the stakes here.
Yeah, that's the thing. The subtext, understanding the subtext gives an entirely different kind of like viewpoint of what's going on in the episode. Like you said, I don't think many kids would actually view the episode in the same way that an adult would, which I think gives the episode even more merit in that sense. The fact that it is open at being watched in different ways, that makes it very malleable.
Right.
And adds to it.
So 100% props for this Nickelodeon show to even talk about depression in an episode that it's not really like a very special episode. It is in the sense that it does tackle a serious issue, but it's not like, it doesn't, I don't know, it's not corny, I guess I don't know. It was an entertaining episode nonetheless, I guess is what I want to say. We can also talk about the fact that much like Kim Possible, this is a very early 2000s show, and so everything from the music to the style, like the shots they choose, and the art design. Very classy chupo. Very, very. It's very 2000s-ish, but unlike Kim Possible, where I was kind of cringing at it, I kind of enjoyed it here, and maybe it's just because the story of this was a lot better. And it's hilarious going from a dumb, like, low-stakes, unimportant episode where, like, oh no, Kim can't ask a crush out, to Ginger might have depression. Like that's the, you know what I mean? Like, it really does show, like, this is what you can do with animation. This is what you can do with a kid's show if you're clever enough. If you're you know what you want to tell and how you want to do it. And yeah, you know what? It's going to turn some kids away. I didn't watch this show as a kid because I thought it was too girly, too serious. But I'm glad that it exists because as an adult, I want to watch more of the series.
Yeah, I mean, I have a brand new perspective of the show just from this episode, and I don't doubt that there are probably many other episodes that are written.
We will talk about one next week.
Yeah.
There's another one next week. So there's also a subplot in this episode. Basically, the way As Told by Ginger works is that the subplots would be taken by Carl and Hoodsy, who were like the gross boy characters, who would kind of fulfill a little bit more like wackier space than Ginger's more grounded problems. And in this episode, they, in a very like fitting thematic way, they think that they made this weird girl disappear in their class by using disappearing powder. Of course, she didn't. She just went to a different school. But like basically, I think they made her disappear, and they have to grapple with the implications of that. It's goofy. It's definitely not as serious, but it's also kind of tonally on point and just like a lighter alternative to Ginger's problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the parallelism between the whole disappearing makes it a very fitting subplot. And
yeah,
it's a little amusing, the absurdity of it all. I didn't find the boys to be obnoxious.
Well, Ginger's got an annoying little brother, just like Kim Possible.
Well, yeah.
She's got two, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This episode just works really well. I would really recommend watching it. It's on Paramount Plus, right?
Yep,
I think
that's how we watched it.
Yep. Also on Paramount Plus is the Amazon thing. But yeah, no. A pretty standout episode. I really couldn't imagine any other Nicktoon as of 2003 touching on this issue. Like what? Maybe the Wild Thornberries? I don't know. Like,
yeah, maybe.
But even that, probably not. She had pancreatitis once.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but like, yeah. So, and we have to talk about the representation of Ginger's poem. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Black and white camera, fast moving through an empty city street with the sad girl walking through looking like the girl from The Ring, and like it's so overly dramatized. I don't think it takes away from the impact of the episode, but it is very early 2000s in a way that makes me want to go write about it on my live journal.
Oh, the soundtrack is what makes it too. That, like, semi-electro backing track. Yeah, it's so early 2000s. It's great.
You ever want to watch All Grown Up but like good?
Yeah.
Watch as told by Ginger. Hey Arnold, there you go. You're not wrong. Hey Arnold, definitely. I don't know that Hey Arnold really got this serious, but Hey Arnold was the kind of show that could have done this, certainly. Could you imagine a Nickelodeon show today doing this?
No, I couldn't.
You remember the I don't know, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode where Donnie gets real bummed?
Remember when Lincoln Loud went through this? Yeah, he's crazy.
No, but back to the seriousness. Yeah, no, I think this episode touches on something that, it was really relevant in the early 2000s, especially, not just with this, but like, you remember how many kids got like diagnosed with ADD or ADHD? Like, that didn't have that, that just like a lot of adults were looking for diagnoses and looking to like kind of put these issues on kids. And it's like, awareness is absolutely good, but don't push
accurate,
issues.
Be correct.
Yeah, know what you're talking about. Don't act like someone on Twitter that gets upset because, she wrote about a sad girl. Like, that's not approved. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Helga on the couch. Good point. Or Holga on the couch, as David Parchment says. Was Harold ever nominated?
I don't think so.
Dang, brutal. Maybe in the.
Here. Let me check. I got the list right here.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Holga on the couch.
Yes.
Thank you. Remember when Patrick Star's sister Squidino went through this? Remember on Camp Coral?
That character doesn't even exist. I don't hear it.
Oh, should we talk about the weird girl being named Sussman? She was very well. Okay, but if you want to get real about it, her name is that because she's suspicious. That's the reason why they named that character that. It's not coincidental. It's like calling the Simpsons the Simps. It's like, yeah, that's why they're called the Simpsons, because they're simple.
Hey Arnold was never nominated.
Gosh darn it, that's brutal.
Yeah,
it's real rude. So anyway, this episode was really sweet. I'm glad it got nominated.
Agreed.
And I don't know. I feel like I might be fumbling my words saying all this. I'm just trying to be very careful because it's always mental health issues, and the way we talk about them is always very important and very difficult. And yeah, like I know that it's good that the people in Ginger's life were concerned about her, but it's bad how much they push it on her. Obviously, it's bad that her friends and all her classmates kind of like look at her and like really push her. Like, it kind of shows that, like, I don't know, like they're kind of bullying her, but they're not strictly being mean as much as they are like imposing something that's not true onto her. Very interesting. I don't know. Again, it's because it's a nuanced thing, right? It's a lot of shows that tackle this sort of thing. It's like, and then the character went to therapy and solved their depression, or like, and now they're on meds, and that's good. Like, and it's like, well, that's part of the picture, but it often can't be summed up as simply as that. There's just like a lot. There's just a lot. And yeah, the episode definitely goes kind of into the stigma of her classmates. Like, her classmates do treat her very weirdly. And then there's the rich girl that like pulls a Cartman and tries to pretend that she's depressed because she wants attention. Like, that's also like, wow, I would not have expected this out of that show. But it, I don't know. It touches on a lot of interesting facets of it, and I think it does it without condemning therapy or the concern that the teacher had for Ginger or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Ready to move on?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next up we have Futurama with the episode Jurassic Bark.
As told by the third Ginger of the night. Excuse me, redhead. Not all redheads are gingers, I've learned. Oh man.
Character development.
Yeah. So Jurassic Bark. What can you say about this episode? We watched this episode right before, and we didn't have enough time to finish it, so I made sure to stop the episode right after, right after he decides not to revive Seymour, and we all had a nice happy time.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good time.
I'm joking, of course. Shadow had never seen this episode. Did you know about the ending? Because it's been memed on. Like, it's...
I mean, I knew it was a sad episode.
Yes.
I didn't know exactly what happened.
Okay.
But I knew it was a sad episode.
Good.
Here's what I will say. I knew that this episode was a very significant episode of the show, and I've heard people praise it time and time again.
Yes. Yeah, so... I tried not to give it away. Shadow has also never seen the pilot of Futurama, so I had to point out when they were reusing footage and like what was a callback and what wasn't. I did not. Don't worry, I didn't spoil him on the things that are hidden in this episode. You're watching Futurama in a very weird way, my friend.
Apparently, yeah.
Next week we also get to watch Roswell That Ends Well. No one spoil that for Shadow, because that one also has a surprise.
Is CeeLo Green in it?
Yep. Mm-hmm, you got me. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. CeeLo Green is the alien in Roswell.
Yes.
We knew it. Oh dear. Okay. So spoilers for anyone. If you haven't seen this episode and you don't know the ending, please don't listen to this. I don't know. I think we lost our spoiler tag. It's okay.
I still have it.
Should we throw it up? I mean,
spoilers.
It's a special episode.
There you go. It's up. It is up in the Powerpuff Girls font. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, this episode is about Fry finding out that his dog Seymour was fossilized. Which we learn how that happened in a later episode. You don't really think about it too much until later, because it's like, wait, how did that happen? But we learn. Shadow won't. Anyway.
Unless I watch the series sometime.
And you should. So basically, he finds out his dog's been fossilized and kept in a museum. He protests to get his dog back, and then he finds out from the professor that his dog can be revived. But meanwhile, Bender is getting upset that Fry is not spending any more time with him because he's too obsessed with this dog. And so Bender throws the dog in a lava pit, and then decides to save it, and everyone's happy. They're about to bring back the dog, and then Fry realizes that Seymour had a long life after him, and it wouldn't be fair to bring him back when he's basically long forgotten about Fry. And then the sadness happens.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not even a dog person. Okay, can you keep a secret? I don't really like dogs. All right. I know that's blasphemous, but I don't. I'm not one of those obnoxious people about it. Mostly big dogs. They kind of freak me out, and they all like me too much, and I don't want it.
That's a dog for you.
I don't like that. So anyway, this ending has the notorious sad ending. I don't even need to say it because everyone knows, right? Everyone who knows. So. Canceled for not liking dogs.
Yes.
And then he was gone, the dog. How do I feel about the explanation about how Seymour was fossilized and the recontextualized final days? I really like that other thing. I don't want to say what it is. I don't want to spoil it for Shadow, but I really like that other thing. It certainly does make you feel... I don't know. It's weird. I don't think it kind of overrides the episode, but it also doesn't. I still think that as a standalone piece of media, ignoring really anything else about the show, I still think this is a powerful, interesting episode. And I think that obviously people remember this episode because of the ending. But I think that even if you take the ending away, it's still a really fun episode. Like, it is still really touching how much Fry cared for this dog. It's really cool to get to see the pilot again. It won't be the last time. I don't know. I think it just works really well as an episode. Bender's jerkiness, it's kind of understandable and earned. And then when he does a really unforgivable thing, he makes up for it. There's really funny gags in it, especially with the professor. Like, Like, he's like, we must harness the awesome power, and then a lightning bolt strikes.
Yeah.
Of lava! And then they go down. Yeah. Sad Bender and his magician act. Like, there's a lot of good gags with Bender being a magician in the episode. Would I say this is the best Futurama episode? No, I don't think so. I like the late Philip J. Fry probably more than this. And if we're being really honest, I think Luck of the Fryrish is a more powerful episode. I'm just gonna be honest. Shadow has no idea what I'm talking about. Nope. So yeah.
Well, I'll say that this, if I were to ever be an English teacher, this is the episode I would show whenever I teach about dramatic irony, because this is dramatic irony at its finest.
You should actually. It's funny you say that, because in the first finale, Bender defines irony. There's a running gag about irony in the first finale. Hey Jim, how you doing?
I think this is a really, really solid episode. I will say, I did like both the late Philip J. Fry, and I also like the Sting more than this episode.
Yep.
But this is still a good episode, so I'm not trying to say that.
It's not. But I mean, I do think that to an average viewer, you watch this, you get really sad at the ending. Mm-hmm. I think that if you're watching this with a critical eye, if you've seen it before, if you're trying to really be critical of it, I do think that ending, like, it kind of makes the episode. Like it's a good episode. And I think that people remember it and know it because of the ending specifically. And although the end, it's a great ending, really sad, really interesting, but it's not the whole episode. You know what I mean? Like people remember this episode as the one with the dog that waits. Like people don't necessarily remember it as like, oh, the one where Bender has a magic act and is jealous of Fry. You know what I mean? Like people don't really mention the main plot of the episode so much as just the sad note that it leaves on. And I think it's powerful and great that it has that note, but I think you could point to episodes like The Sting that are sad throughout, and interesting throughout. I guess another thing, not to discount it entirely, because Seymour trying to lead Fry's family to Fry is also like heart-wrenching. Like he was such. And Shadow, I mean, you wouldn't know this too, but in the context of the series, basically, when Fry first gets to the future, he's like, everyone I've ever known is dead. Woohoo! Like he's basically fine with it because Fry is a loser. His girlfriend's cheating on him. You got a glimpse of his family, but his dad's like a conspiracy nut, and his mom's obsessed with sports. His brother is always trying to one-up him. Like, Fry did not have a great life in the past, and it's why the underlying sadness of the series, like, gets to kind of be swept away in the first episode. You don't have to feel bad that Fry is no longer in his time period because he's not missing anything, right? This episode then comes in and further recontextualizes, actually, there was at least one thing in the past that Fry really, really cared about. It's a little bit of a retcon, kind of, a soft retcon. It's not that we don't see Seymour in the first episode, but certainly he could have been there in the way this episode showed. But I think that it really does do that sort of thing where it's like, you know what? There was something in the past for Fry, and I think that's what kind of, it touches on the overall sad implications of the series that usually they don't touch on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's I think it is a very powerful episode. I was also going to say, I think the most kind of like devastating moment was when the dog Seymour is literally right there in front of the container and his parents just don't look up, which is like, I get it. Some people are like, well, like, why don't they just look up? But like, when you actually like just consider it from a storytelling perspective, it is like the most tragic thing to be that close.
Yeah.
And then to just not even know that you were that close.
Yeah, and it nails home the point that of the people of the past, Seymour is the one that cared about Fry.
Exactly.
Granted, there would be a later episode very similar to this one, with his mother, that kind of tries to imply that she was a kind, caring mother, even though we don't really see that anywhere else in the series. They also do this with his dad. They do this very, very late in the series, so it's kind of weird. Because in every other example, his parents, they're not necessarily like the worst, I guess, but they're pretty negligent, inattentive, and uncaring in general. Mm-hmm. The staff got hate mail from this episode. That's amazing. Wow. Apparently, according to Employee Million, it might be based on a Japanese story of a dog that waited for its master at a train station for its entire life.
I feel like I've heard that story before. I feel like I've heard of it.
Sounds right. Yeah, his parents cared so little they didn't even make a missing persons report because they didn't want to waste tax money. Yeah, that's kind of sums them up, and I think that this episode is a lot better than Game of Thrones, to be honest. That episode has its own thing, although that's also enjoyable, and I've talked about that episode before. If the recast was still going, I would have loved to do Jurassic Park and Luck of the Friarish, because I think both those episodes, like, it's told in the same way basically, but I think that episode kind of paints a more interesting picture. In this one, it's like Seymour unconditionally loves Fry. I also and it's like, that's sweet, but I don't know. According to the commentary, the original concept for this episode is that Fry sees his mom fossilized. They turned into a dog because they thought it would be too depressing.
Yeah, how messed up would it be if Bender threw Fry's mom in a lava pit?
Listen, Bender does some pretty awful things.
Dude, could you imagine Bender's upset because he's jealous he's not Fry's mom?
Darn it, stop making me want that episode.
Listen, I'm just saying, if that's the reason, I don't know. I feel like that would be sillier. I feel like the dog's way more emotionally drenching.
Yeah. Emotionally drenching?
Yeah, drenching.
Drenching?
Yes, drenching. Drenched in lava? Come on.
Alright, did you cry, Shadow?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I cry more at Luck of the Friarish. I didn't cry this time. I think it's also because I've seen this episode a few months ago. Like, I've kind of seen it recently.
Not that I don't feel, because believe me, things can make me feel, but it
oh man, that Powerpuff Girls Christmas special, you should have heard him. He was
no.
He was openly weeping.
No.
He was
no.
Listen, it's so beautiful
it takes a lot to actually make me cry. But I'll be straight up. This is one that it gets everyone, even me. Toy Story 3, man.
All right.
That one, I'll admit, I cry every time. Every time. At both the furnace and when they say goodbye to Andy. Both times I cry. So that one's like the most effective.
Lava hot.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
No. Well, okay, it made me cry, but that's just because of how bad it was, dude, Jay. Not because I felt like genuine sadness.
Did Largo make you sad? Did Largo's affect? You know, the Powerpuff Girls reboot had an episode about depression, and it was kind of like the Ginger one, really. It was a very frank and honest discussion. I can't even say it.
Which one are you talking about?
Largo.
Oh yeah, no.
It's an episode about depression.
The reboot did several episodes about depression.
Oh god.
And there's one that's decently okay, but only because it's so safe.
We all feel sad sometimes.
Yeah. I cried
okay,
at the return.
At any rate.
Stop.
Yes, Donnie. What if Donnie was fossilized and then Shadow finds him years in the future?
No. He's literally in the trash can in the intro to all my videos for a reason, guys.
Oh my goodness. Okay, at any rate, I think we've talked about this episode. I don't know.
Yeah, we can move on.
Listen, I would 100. I don't know. I feel like we spent a lot of time dunking on it, but it's just because people come in from the perspective that it's like the best Futurama episode, and I disagree with that. Would I put it in my top 10? Yeah, probably. I still think it's a phenomenal episode of television, and the fact that that ending can exist, even like it's really good. The way they do it too is very, very good. There's a lot of other shows that could have a final gag, like make a joke out of it, where it's like womp womp, he waited for Fry. But this, it just makes you feel sad. And also, shout outs to that stupid Simpsons Futurama crossover that makes a stupid joke in relation to this episode and can just go live in a dumpster. I do not like that crossover. Damn. There's a cheap joke about it.
That's lame. I guess on one final note, I will say that, I will say that the ending is earned. I think the episode does a good job of establishing the relationship that Fry has with Seymour, from the moment they meet, and then them spending time together at the pizza shop at Panucci's, which I've just learned about.
There's a lot of really great jokes about the dog being unsanitary with the food,
swimming in the tomato sauce. Yeah, it's funny. It's got its moments. The scene where the museum people or whatever bring the fossilized in, and they're like, Fry's like, I'll tell you everything I know, and then he does. He's like, well, that's all I needed to know. Here you go.
Well, yeah, they were like, we need to keep this dog to study, and then Fry's like, he liked singing "Walking on Sunshine," and he smelled like rain all the time. Like, Fry says two or three stupid anecdotes, and then like, well, that's about all we need to study.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah, that was a good joke. So it's got its funny moments for sure, but I will say there are other episodes that we've seen so far that I liked more than this one, but this one's still good.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely Emmy worthy. I think 100%.
I agree. I think it's Emmy worthy for sure.
Yep. Funny episode, good story, heart-wrenching ending. But how did Fry know how old a street dog was?
Yeah.
Also, you have to, like, Fry is such a stupid character that the idea that he would make the connection of, like, wait a minute, he's 15, that means he had a long life without me. The ethics of doing this maybe shouldn't be done. Like, that's very weird of Fry, I'm gonna say it, but it needed to be done for the episode, so... It would have been less impactful if the professor was like, oh, actually, Fry, he lived 13 more years!
Yeah.
Because that's what the professor sounds like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we can...
All right, let's move on to the final...
Hey, Shadow, you ready? Wait, hang on, I got one piece of trivia for you. You ready?
Okay.
In one of the last episodes of the show that I mentioned, Game of Tones, there's a fantasy sequence, kind of, where Seymour appears again, and you want to know who voices him for a one-line cameo?
Is it Tom Kenny?
It's Seth MacFarlane doing the Brian voice.
Yes, yes. Oh my god, whew, that's amazing. I love it. Oh, dude, Seth never changed.
It all comes full circle because Futurama was a really big hit for Adult Swim in reruns.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Fry was like, you know, Seymour, Futurama was the #1 show on Adult Swim in reruns, and Seymour was like, oh yeah, Fry, well, on Fox, you got canceled.
And then George Lucas was there at some point. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on before we devolve into our inside jokes. Okay, last up, we have The Simpsons with 3 Gays of the Condo. What was this episode about, Pi?
This episode was a hate crime. Okay, listen. Look, this episode is about Homer finds the note that Marge wrote to him. Okay, so back in the past, because this isn't the second episode in a row about Marge and Homer's past that involves marriage crisis. In the past, Homer got like blackout drunk on a date with Marge and like was belligerent and miserable. Marge writes a letter to Homer saying, "Hey, I'm gonna break up with you because you're awful," and then she doesn't give it to him because she gets pregnant. And then in the future, Homer sees this note and is like, what? Marge doesn't love me? And so he decides to go live in an apartment, mind you, not a condo. I don't care what your stupid pun title. It's not even accurate. He goes and lives in an apartment with 2 gay men, despite being openly homophobic. And we get to see the gay community in Springfield, which, as it turns out, is just that one gay stereotype. And then Marge tries to save their relationship, and Homer tries to save it. He's like, I don't know if I can go back to Marge after... It's the most forced, stupid marriage crisis episode in a sea of marriage crisis episodes that somehow manages to make an LGBT episode about a straight couple. I'm flabbergasted at how bad this episode is.
This was terrible. It was garbage through and through. I'm sorry.
The only thing I can say, we did laugh. Not at the gay stereotypes, no. But there are a few jokes, like the missing... I like the Act 1 lead-in, which is the family's putting together a puzzle, and they get a lot of mileage out of puzzle jokes, like the last piece of the puzzle being under Maggie's eyelid, which is such an absurd joke. So there were some pretty good jokes about that, but then once we got into the episode, it's just utter misery. They nominated this episode because there's gay characters in it, despite the fact that they are shown as much less three-dimensional, much more insulting than the other times they've had gay characters on the show. Homer's Phobia, or even the one with Harvey Fierstein with Carl.
We literally watched an episode from much more recent Emmy year where they did a gay character way better.
Yeah, well, we need to talk about this because, look, for the first 10 years of The Simpsons, or the first 8 years of The Simpsons, they're pretty good about LGBT stuff. I'm not going to say that they have, like, great representation, because it's only, like, a few episodes, but they don't generally make gay jokes or, like, oh, that's a man jokes. They generally don't do that. And then all of a sudden, to the 2000s hit, and suddenly, Bart's calling everything gay. Suddenly, there's all sorts of jokes about, like, you know, that lady you thought you slept with, that was a man! It's the same stupid jokes that are backwards and awful, and I know it's a different time period. You can take down the spoilers tag, by the way.
Whoops. No, guys, we're spoiling this episode for you.
Spoilers. For some reason, there's a period of time that The Simpsons goes backwards in terms of how it treats LGBT issues, and it's gross. It's just gross. I hate it. And yeah, this episode, basically the gags are that, like, every single gay character in Springfield has a lisp and is into musical theater and, like, all the stereotypes. And of course, there is nothing wrong with a gay person being interested in these things or speaking in this way or whatever. But the backwards thing about it is that it portrays multiple gay characters, all the dang gay characters, as acting in this specific way when gay people are just people that talk and act in all sorts of different ways, and it just reinforces stereotypes. Mm-hmm. It sucks. Yep. But the thing, it's not surprising that a show around this time did this, but it is surprising to me that the show was relatively tasteful about this sort of thing in the first 8 seasons, and then all of a sudden it's just all of this. And this it's not even an episode about LGBT issues. Why do you think these characters were included? Is it just that like Queer Eye for the straight guy was a big thing at the time or something? Like, there's elements of that, right? Like, they give Homer a makeover. There's also this weird undercurrent that they wanted to do an episode where Homer was gay, but they couldn't actively have him break up with Marge, so instead he goes and lives with gay men, and one of the gay men kisses him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like they wanted to do that, but they were too cowardly to just, like, have Homer be bisexual or something. Like, very, very, very strange.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head at this one.
Yes, so Jim wanted me to tell. Jim told me the other day. So apparently, Harvey Fierstein was in an episode much earlier on. Like, I want to say season 2 or 3. It's like Homer's assistant or something. I forget how that episode's called. It's interesting. He like the implications are that he's a gay man and he kisses Homer at the end of that episode, and Homer takes it a lot better there. Anyway, he was asked to return in this episode. He did not want to because he read the script and presumably found it offensive.
Understandable.
So, yeah, I completely agree with that too. Season 2, episode 2, Homer and Delilah. Thank you. Yeah. So, and then, so, like, yeah, you have all of the stuff that's actively pretty offensive and backwards, but then on top of it, the actual story of the episode is just dumb because Homer literally invents this marriage problem and then escalates it to a stupid degree, and then blows his chance at getting back with Marge and then the episode just has them back together because they have to be back together. In last time we talked about The Simpsons, similar sort of thing in the kissing episode, where basically after hearing all the stuff in the past, finding out that Homer was the guy that left her, Marge decides to kind of like be upset at Homer. But in that episode, she doesn't run away out of the house and separate from him. She's just like a bit upset that this happened. And I'm not saying, I don't think that was a great turn for that episode either, but like, at least that was an understandable thing for her to be like upset and holding on to upset feelings, versus Homer like takes this and just escalates it to such a stupid degree. Even for Homer, it comes across as forced. The whole episode is just made up by Homer. Right? Like, am I crazy?
Yeah, because it was an issue that had happened years and years ago, presumably, because, how long? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, she got pregnant with Bart, so 10 years ago.
Right.
The flashback, if that's what you're referring to. The flashback happened.
Dude, I'm confused on the chronology of Simpsons because they're always occurring.
Oh no, don't worry about that. Don't think about it too much. I got some gym videos I can show you later, but it's okay.
Okay.
It's a floating timeline, but Homer always grew up in the 60s, but everything else floats and it's fine. Everyone's cool.
Okay. Okay, anyway, thank you. So my point is, this is an issue that was long since, like, in the past. It was lost to time. Like, there's no reason to get upset about something that had happened so long when so many other things changed, and, like, the current life that they were living had nothing to do with it at that point. Like, yeah, you're completely right. Homer just invents this problem for himself.
And Homer was in the wrong, because that's the other thing, too. Sorry, not to interrupt you. The other element of this episode, not only is this an episode about LGBT people, gay people, I should say. There's only, I think, like one lesbian in it. It's also an episode about marriage crisis, but also it's an episode about Homer's drinking problem that isn't resolved. Because the whole reason Marge even writes that is because Homer was awful with his beer. He completely, like, was utterly terrible to Marge and ruined her night. And then, as you see in this footage, he then goes to drinking hard, and he drinks so hard that he misses his makeup date with Marge, where they're supposed to reconcile. So the episode is kind of about how bad Homer's drinking problem has always been and still is, except there's no resolution to that.
The resolution is that the nurse was stealing sponges.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, too. Let's talk. This episode is solved because, just like the contrived rock that Homer held on to in the kissing episode, there's a contrived Dr. Hibbert tape who filmed how much Marge loved Homer that night. Even though Homer was miserable, there was nothing to make Marge change her mind. She conveniently changed her mind. And the implication being, if Marge in the past hadn't changed her mind, Homer would have remained mad at her and they would have divorced.
Yep.
What a terrible couple.
Yeah. Yeah, no. This is like the worst Marge Homer fight thing I've seen yet of like all the episodes we've watched.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
I'm currently on a rewatch of the series, and I can think of one other episode that also involves drinking, that has a pretty bad Marge Homer conflict. But otherwise, this is the most messed up one, I think, maybe in the first, what is this, 14? Season 14, 13? I think it was
season 14.
Yeah, in the first 14 seasons, I think this might be the most messed up marriage crisis episode. As long as everyone is filming everybody else, justice will be served. That's right, this isn't the first time a convenient videotape showed up. But yeah, this episode really has everything. It has just marriage crisis episode for the umpteenth time, horrible mischaracterizations, stereotypes of gay people, Homer's drinking problem that's never addressed, Marge loving Homer despite the fact that he was actively awful to her, and then just contrived ending. And then there's other things too, like the kids, Lisa like kind of pushes Marge into forgiving Homer or apologize, like when really, like, Marge has such a right to be upset in this episode, because not only did Homer ruin her night 10 years ago, and then ruin her life by getting her pregnant, IMO, but But Homer now is actively could you imagine? He ruined her night and then is still, from the consequence of that night, is still actively ruining her life. Like he is still actively making her feel bad because of something that he did. It's messed up. It's so messed up. Weird Al's in this episode. I like Weird Al. His parody song isn't anything to write home about, but he's there. Little ditty about Homer and Marge. This episode's trash.
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I completely forgot Weird Al was in this episode until you just mentioned it. But yeah, he was. Dang.
Yeah. If Mo Baby Blues, the episode with Mo and Maggie, if that was in this time period and that didn't get nominated over this, that is stupid. That is aggressively. I mean, really, season 14 has some bad episodes, sure, but like there are definitely better episodes to nominate. I mean, really. He who is tired of Weird Al is tired of life, Homer Simpson. Tunja, you are bringing it with the quotes this week. You are doing fantastic. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, no, just miserable episode. Terrible. In a week that had, in a year, I guess, that had, really, really touching, memorable Futurama episode, really surprisingly good, meaningful Ginger episode about depression and suicide, SpongeBob episodes that are real funny. This doesn't fit in any way, shape, or form.
No, absolutely not.
By the way, Shadow, so if Marriage Crisis episodes happen so many times that you've now seen a handful of them. The Future episode where she dates Krusty, like that's a Marriage Crisis episode. It's like the B plot, but it's there. Like,
yep. The kiss one.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's those are the 5. Sorry, I got real heated there, but this is a real like. It's one of the worst of the first 14 seasons, for sure.
All
right.
A good discussion.
Yeah, how would you rank these, Mr. Streak?
Oh, okay. All right, I got a little bit of a shocker here. So, number 5 is Simpsons. No doubt about
what?
It. Yeah.
No.
I know, crazy, right?
But
Shocker.
It has gay people, so it must be progressive, right, Hollywood?
Yeah, it's just a terrible episode.
For the early 2000s, apparently just having gay people was seen as progressive, even if those gay people were horrible stereotypes. Yikes.
Yeah, I think this episode failed at literally everything that it tried to do. Next, I'd put Kim Possible at number 4. Okay. Kim Possible's episode was very mediocre. Number 3, I'm going to put SpongeBob because it's funny. That's it.
Yeah.
I am going to go out and say it. I would give the Emmy to As Told by Ginger. I would do it.
Okay. I think Jurassic Park number 2.
Yes. I think that As Told by Ginger, especially like given the context of what it is, and then being able to pull off a story that like deep and well thought out, being able to portray these different perspectives and really tackle an issue with subtext in such like an interesting way that makes it very relatable for a lot of people of different age ranges, I think is it's very powerful stuff. Not that the Futurama episode isn't powerful, but I just think in terms of the actual depth of the topic of discussion, I think As Told by Ginger tackles a heavier subject in a better way. Plus, the art style is very unique.
How would you rank the hour or more category?
Well, I think Chased by Dinosaurs is really terrible, but also really good at the same time. So I'm going to put it in the first and last spot.
Nice. You know what? Same. First and last for me. Welcome with Dinosaurs. All right. Yeah. So, when it comes to the main 5 here, Simpsons is dead last. Yeah. I just actively awful in just about every way you could imagine. Even gosh, even if I was looking at this from a 2000s perspective of like not caring about gay people being disrespected, even just looking at it, like ignoring those horrible stereotypes, which you shouldn't, it's just awful in every other way anyway. Like, I don't know, there's no reality. I can't say, well, for the time, people, I don't know. It's dumb. Dumb, worst. Then Kim Possible, I mean, same. It's boring and bland. I guess it didn't make me hate everything as much as that Simpsons episode did. And then SpongeBob for the same exact reason. It's funny, but you know what? We have episodes that are funny but also meaningful. And then there were two, and then there was none.
And they were gone.
Yeah. Gosh. I think the tricky thing about this is that I have Ginger surprised me because I didn't even have any idea what that show was capable of. But then Futurama, I'm biased towards because the show, I know and like. But then again, I'm also a little biased against it because I've seen that episode a bunch of times. I mean, I don't think there's a wrong pick here, but if I'm gonna be completely,
Cue the "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire" thinking music.
See, here's the problem. I could give it to Futurama because Futurama was, emotional, but also very funny. I don't think the Ginger episode was funny. That's the thing. The jokes, I don't think it's like bad at humor necessarily, but like, I don't know. I didn't think it was trying to tell jokes. You know what I mean? And so in the same way that SpongeBob, I don't think can touch the top two contenders because it only does the one thing.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm going to give the number one spot to As Told by Ginger. Just like you, I ranked it the same way. You know what? Jurassic Park is a fantastic episode. It's the whole package, but As Told by Ginger told a story that I've never seen done in children's animation. I rarely see it in any medium. The idea of people pushing a problem on like a mental issue onto you because you wrote a sensitive piece of poetry. Like I think 13 Reasons Why can go eat its heart out because As Told by Ginger did a much better story. So for the absolute meaningful, and Jurassic Park is sad in a fantasy kind of way, really. Like, As Told by Ginger is sad and meaningful in a way that's very real and very meaningful. And I don't know. I feel dirty saying this because Futurama episode's great, and I absolutely don't want to dunk on it in any way. But when you're dealing with pieces of media that are really, really good and really meaningful and deserving of awards, holy cow, multiple things really deserving of an award. Wow.
It's only happened a few times.
Yeah, I gotta give it to Ginger. So, all right.
Yeah.
Do you want to give our honorable mentions, or should we say what won?
We say what won first. But
all right.
Let's give the folks in chat a reminder to go vote on the poll if you haven't already, because we're going to be announcing the results of that after we go over these next two mini segments really quick. But yeah, so the actual episode that won the Emmy this year was the Simpsons episode, 3 Gays of the Condo. I could not disagree more.
I did say it before, and I'm not trying to, I don't know, but I do kind of think that the bar was so low that having gay characters was considered progressive, regardless of how it reinforced harmful stereotypes. And we didn't really talk about it, but the thing that's really sinister, it honestly isn't even just like, all the gay characters talking with a lisp and whatever. The sinister thing is that the episode propagates the not true, stupid, backwards myth that all gay men want to make out with you. They all have a crush on you, right? Homer is very clear that he is a straight man married. He's even like homophobic, right? And yet for some reason this gay character thinks it's a good idea to kiss Homer. I cannot imagine what this guy would find in Homer in this episode that would lead him to believe that Homer would want to be kissed. Or that Homer was attractive in any way. I think it's actively very that part especially is very sinister. It's very much in line with the idea that all trans people want to lie to you about their gender to trap you and trick you into doing something you didn't mean to do or whatever. Like it's a harmful stereotype. Not true, and all it does is just perpetuate this idea that like you can't be friends with gay people because they all want to make out with you. You know, like it's disgusting. It's wrong. And it serves to do nothing in the episode. It has no plot relevance to anything. It would be different if Homer was actually considering leaving Marge for a man. That would be gutsy, but they would not do that. No. Not in this decade, at least. So. Yeah. I just want to say that I think that it's it's bad. It's very bad that this won.
I agree. Terrible choice. I never would have voted for this in a million years.
And I know we kind of danced around it a bit, like way back when we talked about the grandpa episode with the man who had a crush on him and kissed him when. You know, hey, wow, gee, look, the stereotype still exists. But it is, I do feel it's true that it's just pandering. This episode was nominated because it had that, but it doesn't, it portrays the gay people as human, I guess, but it portrays them only human insofar as they all want to make out with you, they all love musical theater, they all sit around and call other celebrities gay, Dumb, bad, wrong.
Yeah.
And shame on you, Emmys, for picking this. You lose a lot of moral high ground here. I completely understand. You know, look, the decade was a different time. You know, I mean, we were alive for it. I remember what it was like in school. But that's not an excuse for grown adults to make this episode and then look at this episode and say, well, yeah, no, this is really saying something about society and it's award worthy.
Especially because even like just not like looking at everything else about the episode besides that issue, it's all terrible. As we've already talked about. Like there's nothing good.
It can only be nominated because it includes gay people. That I cannot imagine why they would pick this episode otherwise. Honestly, I didn't do it, but I'm kind of tempted to pull out my DVD and listen to the commentary because they talk about other episodes and why they nominated them, and I'll have some interesting insights going forward. But I would love to hear what their thinking was. Now, granted, the commentaries were recorded also in like the late 2000s. This one might have been early 2010s, so I don't know. But
well, if you do listen to that and you have something to share next week, by all means do it.
All right, I guess I got it now. Yeah. Yep. So, all right. I don't mean to lecture because I'm sure the people, most of the people, if not all the people listening to this, completely agree and understand, and I don't think you guys need to hear it. Yeah. But I just think it needed to be said. So
yeah. All right. So our nominations for what we would pick.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Hang on. One more thing.
Okay.
Sorry. No. And Zorro's absolutely right too. It also really, really perpetuates a pretty unrealistic, toxic, disgusting marriage, where Homer gets to act like a belligerent drunk who just has no regard for Marge's feelings, and then years later, gets to turn that incident into the catalyst for him leaving the family. His drunken outburst as a reason to leave. You know what? You know something? How to fix this episode, honestly? Make Homer realize that he was miserable and doesn't deserve Marge, and make him leave the family intentionally because he thinks they're better off without him. Honestly, I bet you they did that. I bet you that's an episode somewhere, right? I think it'd still be kind of dumb, but at least that would be a more justified reason than him throwing a tantrum. And it's a cartoon. Homer acts like a cartoon buffoon. I'm not saying every instance of him, jokes about him being drunk or whatever are like toxic or should be taken seriously. But the whole episode is centered around this crux, and they don't even address it. There are other episodes. There's Duffless, an episode that actually addresses Homer's drinking issue, and yet it's just it. Okay, I'm done. All right, there we go.
That's okay. All right, so our nominees for what we would have picked for the 2003 Emmy Awards. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm hot. I gotta cool off.
Okay. So, I'll come up and admit I did not have a nominee until 5 minutes before the show. I spent almost an hour searching for stuff while on call with Pi before the show, but I managed to find something in the last 5 minutes that I think is absolutely worthy.
Mucha lucha. No.
It's technically 3 7-ish minutes connected together into 1/2 hour. But I figure if two episodes paired can be in it, I figure 3 can as well.
Is this Dexter's Lab?
No, actually.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna do the Saturdays Are Made for Dad episode.
Yes, and that would be
a real that would be a real something.
That'd be a hot take. All right.
No, it's a funny meme, but it's not a good episode.
No, it is not. I am going to go with this. It doesn't have like an actual whatever. It's grim and evil.
I was thinking.
Little Rock of Horrors, The Pie Who Loved Me, and Dream a Little Dream.
Yeah! I don't love you, but yeah!
Little Rock of Horrors is the episode with Voltaire singing the Brains song, which is incredible. It's a musical episode. It's got... Dude, that song's so great. Voltaire's amazing in it. It aired in October of 2002. I was originally going to pick the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy thing because I remember the Evil Con Carne episode, but not as easily as the other episode that this later got integrated into Billy and Mandy. But the problem is that third Billy and Mandy episode aired in 2003 after the cutoff. So I went with Grim and Evil, which is fine because the Pie Who Loved Me, it's another musical episode. Evil Con Carne and his Hector and his band of misfits all sing about pie. It's great from what I remember. I knew Pi would love it especially. I may or may not have picked this to appeal to him specifically. No,
because when else are you gonna pick Evil Con Carne or Grim and Evil?
When else would I have this opportunity? I literally saw these 3 episodes and I'm like, this is perfect. And then Dream a Little Dream is the Dreams episode where Billy, Mandy, and Grim all eat the moldy pizza and they each have like a nightmare, but Mandy ends up having actually a really cool dream. Because Billy dreams of these cute bunnies that turn into like Watership Down horrific deadly monsters.
I think we also need to point out that when we pick a different nominee, it's not necessarily one that's better than everything that got nominated, just better than the worst thing.
I think this
good enough that it deserved to be up there.
Yeah, I think this would easily beat out Kim Possible and The Simpsons, no question. I think both of them, possibly even SpongeBob, depending on what you're looking for in the episodes. That's one I would pick, and I know I've brought up Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy before, but this is Grim and Evil. It's a different show. Haha, I win.
Right. Okay. I want to shout out to, thanks for the super chat, Toonjay, who says, Sink or Swim from Kim Possible for the half hour. That's the one, I think, where they go to the camp and there's the Gil kid. I think. That's my guess. And then for the hour-long category, Hey Arnold's the Journal and Justice League's Injustice for All. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to have to put user in timeout there. Please don't spam, guys. Even if you're spamming to apologize, just don't.
Just don't.
if I see you spamming again, I'm just gonna block you. So you're timed out for now. At any rate, yeah. So my pick. Someone also mentioned "Knock It Off" from the Powerpuff Girls. If that one falls in in the time period. Absolutely. That's a great pick.
It would, but I'm saving my PBG pick for a different year.
I'm not talking about your picks, buddy.
Well, I know, but I know someone in the chat was probably going to be like, Shadow, why do you pick Powerpuff Girls? I'm saving it.
Okay. Well, anyway. Yeah, so Knock It Off is certainly something I could pick. But you know what? I'm going to pick this show that I don't think got nominated enough for the Emmys. A little show called South Park with the episode, The Return of the Fellowship of the King to the Two Towers.
Sounds like a Lord of the Rings parody. It's just a guess.
Well, Shadow, right you are, friend. This episode is fantastic. So it's basically, the idea is the boys accidentally get hold of an adult videotape. that their parents tell them to send over to Butters because Butters is supposed to watch the Lord of the Rings. They think it's Lord of the Rings, but it's an adult videotape. Butters watches it and goes crazy obsessed with wanting to watch more of the tape, calling it his precious. The boys, the tape is also recognized by like the older kids who want it, and the boys were told by like Stan's parents, don't look at the tape, you know, because they're like, obviously it's inappropriate. So then they realize that since everyone wants this tape, the only thing they can do is to send it to the Two Towers video rental store, return it because it's a rental, and so they go on a journey to return it.
That is amazing.
And yes. It's certainly like one of the best episodes on the show's like first like 6-8 seasons or whatever. Pretty fantastic. It's funny. I've never seen Lord of the Rings. Maybe that's a thing I shouldn't admit, but I still thought it was an entertaining episode. There's a lot of jokes about the fact that the boys have a very sensitive tape. It's apparently a very, very extreme adult tape. And the punchline of the... Well, you know, I won't even give the punchline away, but it's a funny punchline at the very end. It's kind of like a really funny way to do a Lord of the Rings parody, and it's an episode... It's a type of episode that you don't really see on the show much anymore, where it has nothing to do with any issue going on in the world, no current event. It is literally just a silly episode where, you know, the parents are trying to stop the kids from seeing this very explicit videotape. So
it sounds hilarious. So
yeah, I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I mean, I love me some Lord of the Rings. So yeah, I definitely want to check it out now because it sounds great.
Yeah, it's very much like what the Warcraft episode did for Warcraft, but for Lord of the Rings, I guess. Awesome. Yeah, canceled for not seeing Lord of the Rings. That's fine. I'm okay with that. You know what? I've seen The Desolation of Smaug, the second Hobbit movie. Oh, and that's it. That's the only
second one. But
I
not
saw
the
it
first.
I saw it on a date. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's like reading the middle 5 chapters of a book or something. Oh my gosh.
And yeah, the South Park episode did kind of loosely inspire The Stick of Truth, a great video game. At least some of the costume designs. So yeah, that's my pick. Knock It Off though is a better episode, I will say. All right. Well, we went a little long. We had a little extra Nigel to talk about, but let's. I mean, I'm actually like sweating here. My glasses are fogged up. I got real mad at that Simpsons episode. Holy cow! I think it's justified. Listen, if there's anything that deserves to make you angry about a piece of media, it's bigotry, right? Like, if there's one thing that bigotry, perpetuating horrible relationship. Abusive relationships, toxic relationships. Yeah. Hello. This is an awkward time for you to join us. Hello.
Hi.
All right, man.
All right. You want to go over the results of the poll?
Oh yeah, certainly. So, guys, I obscured the SpongeBob episode, but I still made it, a little obvious, maybe. Not too obvious, I guess, if you're in the know. I will be happy. To be honest with you, it was a good episode of SpongeBob, so you know what? Even if that wins, I think I'll be fine. All right, let's give it a shot. I'm going to hit refresh. Here we go.
Okay.
Out of 471 votes.
That's a pretty big number.
Yeah. At 4% in dead last, it's The Simpsons, Three Gays to the Condo.
Bravo.
I'm still sad it got 4%, but you know what? It is what it is. At 6%, it's Crush Kim Possible. So far, we're following us here.
Wow.
In third, with only 8% of the votes, it is SpongeBob.
Wow.
Yep. Now, in full disclosure, I didn't say SpongeBob. I titled it 53A and 53B. And if you watch this show, I'm sure you knew what it was. It's in the thumbnail and everything. So, I only did that just because people in my channel would flood it with SpongeBob votes. Yeah, just barely beating it out with 9% of the votes is As Told by Ginger, and Futurama in a landslide gets 72% of the votes. I'm not really upset at that, although I do wonder if... You know what? I'm not even going to say that. Nope. I guess I just wonder if certain people online talking about this episode really like boosted it and the awareness of it, which is fine. It's a good episode to boost.
Yeah. I also feel like As Told by Ginger isn't a show that a lot of people really talk about much anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, it has its fans, I'm sure, but I feel like just in terms of like reputable episodes, like the Jurassic Park definitely seems to have a much grander reputation.
Right. So. Media Fanatic said Knock It Off is from 2001. So, okay. That's why I didn't pick it. Take that. All right. Sure. Should we see what's coming up next week?
I suppose we can, can't we? Alrighty. So, let me pull up my list really quick. So I got this in front of me. All right. Next week, 2002. We've got 5 nominees, as almost always. First up, we have the King of the Hill, not the King of the Hill, sorry. King of the Hill with Bobby Goes Nuts. It's a great screen cap.
That's my purse. I know you.
Oh, yeah. We've got As Told by Ginger once again with Lunatic Lake.
I'm honestly real excited.
Dude, I'm interested. I hope it's like good again because that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
We've got The Simpsons with She of Little Faith.
Oh, I know this episode. Yeah. We'll see.
Okay.
Got so I understand why it was nominated, certainly.
We've got South Park. Osama bin Laden has farty pants. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, you're never going to believe this, Pi.
What is it?
Futurama with Roswell That Ends Well. And I'll need to shrink the screen cap a little bit, but or I can keep it how it is. But the cropping on this one's a little hard.
Oh my goodness!
The cropping on this one was a little hard to do.
Guys, no one spoil what that Futurama episode is about. And yeah, you kind of breezed past it there, but the South Park episode nominated is the episode that aired after 9/11. So. We're gonna have some stuff to talk about. Man, I did not think we'd be talking about terrorism as much on this live show. Say what you will about the recast, but the award show Audit is where we talk about terrorism.
We get metal on this show, apparently.
Yeah.
But yes, just one kids show. This feels like a 2010s year in terms of nominees.
Yeah, but interesting stuff to talk about. Yeah, it's honestly, I think it's going to be a lot like this week in that we've got Ginger again, we've got Futurama again. Like we've got some big episodes, some cultural relevance. Like we got some big stuff. So
yeah, it'll be interesting for sure.
Kim Possible was the last 16:9 show, so you can update your monitor to a square. Tunjay, do you know how much it would cost to convert this into a square?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
We poured tons of money into investing into this stage.
Look at this. It's not even projected. It's just a big giant monitor that's like half the size of our bodies. I mean, we can't just shrink it.
Little did you realize, Tunjay, that isn't even a screen. That's just a hole in the wall. Okay? we have a TV behind the hole. We can't just shrink the hole.
No.
If we make it bigger, it's going to go off of our camera, and then the camera won't pick it all up. So, like, that's just asking.
But you know what? Maybe we can come up with something. Maybe we'll I don't know. Maybe we'll just have sidebar pictures of Bobby kicking Hank in the crotch.
Yes.
Or something. We'll figure something out. If it's really going to bother you that much. But it is interesting that it is interesting to note we didn't say it. Kim Possible was in widescreen, which is like real interesting. Something this early on was produced in widescreen, even though, gosh, who had a widescreen TV in 2003?
I know, right?
I don't even think they were broadcasting it. I guess they just knew. I don't know. What kind of millionaire watched cartoons in 16:9 in the early 2000s? I don't know. Maybe they did it just in case you ever wanted to show an episode of Kim Possible in movie theaters.
Yeah, that's it. That was the reason. Sure.
I don't know. As of now, I'm happy. I mean, we're all very happy that they did this. Like, it's a real treat seeing like Teen Titans in widescreen for the first time. Yeah. Whew, all right. So we went a little bit over, but I don't think anyone's gonna mind it. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. So hope you're looking forward to it. Bye, guys.
All right. PIEGUYRULZ out.